Hey guys, Craig McCormick here from DestructivePixels.com and welcome to Quickies, where I share with you a quick Photoshop, photography or Lightroom tip. And today I want to talk to you about the concept of renting gear before you actually buy it. If you're anything like me, you drool over new camera equipment, that new sexy lens or body and stuff like that. But the problem is, a lot of this stuff is really expensive, especially if you're looking at things like a 70-200 or a 24-70 or anything like that. Like, personal confession, I'm looking at a tilt shift lens from Canon and I'm drooling over it. But the problem is, a lot of this stuff is really expensive. It's a huge investment in money. So my top tip for you is to rent it before you buy it. Now, a little bit of a thing here. If you are wanting to buy a piece of equipment, it should be solving a problem for you. Like for the tilt shift, I have a shot in my head. I have an idea for a shot in my head, and I think the tilt shift is going to solve it. So when you're renting this piece of equipment, you should be doing shoots to solve that problem. And if you can't think of a scenario where you're solving an actual problem for you, you shouldn't be buying that piece of equipment first and foremost. Don't just buy a piece of equipment because you want to buy it. It should be solving an issue that you have. And the next part in this is, when you do rent this piece of equipment, do a bunch of shoots that relates to that lens or a piece of equipment or whatever it is. It could be a camera body or anything like that. So when I eventually do rent this tilt shift lens, and I will be renting it before I buy it, I want to do a bunch of different shoots to see if it actually solves the problem I have, because I don't know if it will or not. But that's the whole point. You rent it before you buy it, because then you have a much smaller investment in money. And it will result in either three things. One, it will be exactly what you want, and it will solve that issue for you perfectly. And then you can justify buying that lens. It makes you a lot more comfortable with buying it because you know for a fact that it's going to be solving your issue. Two, you're going to find that it doesn't solve your issue. And that actually is more beneficial to you than anything else, because it means you haven't invested a huge sum of money in this lens and then you're never going to use it. It's going to sit in a drawer, right? But then that kind of helps guide you along to, like, okay, well, that piece of equipment doesn't solve my issue, but maybe something similar will. Or option three, and this is the better one of everything. You rent it, you get your shot, and you're completely happy, and you don't feel the need to buy that lens anymore. And that's potentially what I might have at this point with this tilt shift. I really like the idea of it, and I do have a bunch of shot ideas for it, but I really do think if I rent it and I get a couple of shots out of the way, I do my shoots with it over that week that I rent it, I might just get it out of my system, and then I don't need to buy it. And then I've saved even more money. That's great. So one other thing is, rental equipments, they're all over the world. Rental places are all over the world. In the US, in the UK, Europe, even here in China, there are tons of places. So you have no excuse to not rent something before you buy it, especially if it is a really expensive piece of equipment, especially things like tilt shift. Man, those are expensive. So hopefully that has helped you out. Think about renting something before you buy it. And until next time, I've been Craig McCormick. I'll catch you in the next one.